Alright, so now we've got a spatial reference defined. But say what we really want to do is measure the distance between just the different chords in this data set. For that, in order to do that, we need to now project our data. Okay, so you can see the angular unit now is in degrees, not in meters, in the metric unit that I can measure with. So to do this, I'm going to use project. So also under data management in the Arc toolbox, note that the Arc toolbox, I added it now. It is now pinned to my display. If I want to unpin it, I can click that button there, then I can just click on it when I need it, and if I don't need it, it will go back eventually. Alright, so under data management tools, projections and transformations, I now used define projection to define a projection, but now I'm gonna project my data to a projected coordinate system. So if I'm going to do it for a raster dataset that we will get to, there's a different tool to use when you use raster layers. For now, I'm using this vector data, that's points, lines, polygons. So I'm going to use project. I'm going to double click that. It will open my toolbox. Just use patience. It sometimes takes a while. Alright, and then I'm going to select my justice chords. This is now the layer that I want to project. It's currently in the geographic coordinate system HartPSIC 1994. Whenever you project data, right, if you take it from one spatial reference system, coordinate system to another one, you need to create a new file. You create a new layer. So I need to tell the computer where I want to save this. Right, so usually you will navigate to a folder. For now, I'm just going to use the default folder allocated to all my exporting work. So I'm going to use this folder that's assigned there, but you might find it necessary to locate a folder where you want to save this data set. So now I'm going to need to specify what's the output coordinate system that I want to apply. Alright, so I'm going to click on this button here. And now it gives me an option. I can now select whatever I want. I want to project it, so I'm going to open up the projected coordinate systems, and for argument's sake, let's use just the continental Africa Albus equal area one. So you locate your coordinate system that you would like to use. It's already here by default. What I mean by that, you don't need to create the projected coordinate systems. You just select one. Okay, so let's use the equidistant one rather. Okay, so I said we want to measure distances. Okay, so Africa equidistant conic. This is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to say okay. And then it's going to ask me, is there a geographic transformation? In this case, there will be, because the initial geographic coordinate system is HartPSIC 1994, and the equidistant one that I'm using is based on WGS 1984. So two different datums being used, two different geographic coordinate systems. I'm taking it from one geographic coordinate system to another, so there needs to be some sort of geographic transformation that takes place, and I need to specify it. It's going to be from HartPSIC 1994 to WGS 1994 for this example, and I'm going to say, okay, I might just say it usually picks it up by itself. You don't always need to specify it. And then I'm going to say okay, and now it is starting to project my data. Alright, it tells me, warning, there's a data conflict between map output and input. Okay, and we're going to figure out now what that means. Alright, so now I can turn off the old one, and you will see there's the data still being displayed, exactly the same as it was previously. Alright, even though if I go to properties, my spatial reference is now changed. It's in Africa equidistant conic. Why is that? It's because of on-the-fly projection, and that's the one I discussed in class at the end of the lecture. Alright, so if I right-click on layers, okay, so layers is where all the data is under. So if I right-click on layers and I go to the layers property, I will find there's an option coordinate system. You might need to select it first. And there you will see there's, in this case, geographic coordinate system ArcBIS 1994 is assigned. In other words, all the data sets under layers will be projected on the fly to be displayed in a geographic coordinate system with ArcBIS 1994, regardless of what they are. Okay, so that's what on the fly does. So for me, what I now want to do, I want to display my data in the one that I projected it to for just the scores. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom to layers, and I'm going to select the Africa Equidistant Conic, the one that I just projected just the scores to, and I'm going to say please display the data, everything in Africa Equidistant Conic. It asks me, are you sure you want to do that, because there's going to be a conflict in datums. I say yes, and it now reprojects, and you will find it looks a bit different now, and now everything is displayed in my Africa Equidistant. So now I can do measurements. There's a measure tool there. If I click on that, I can say I want to do measurements. I want to do the distance, and I'm going to do it in kilometers. So now I can measure distance between 2 points. Alright, so now you can see the distance between those two, 129.267 watt kilometers. Alright, so now I can do my measurements. Now the warning it gave in terms of a datum conflict, if I now go and look at my properties for layers, I will find I now selected Africa Equidistant Conic, and remember the datum that it is using is the datum WGS 1984. The reason why it tells me there might be conflict is because province is actually in a datum of ArcBIS 1994. So it automatically warns you that all your data sets are not in the same spatial reference system. Okay, so what is best practice? Best practice is to ensure when you do a project that all your data layers are in the same coordinate system. So what will be the correct action for me? The correct action now for me will be to go to our toolbox again, open project again, and our province new, which is now still in a geographic coordinate system, I'm going to say make that the same, make it Africa Equidistant as well, so everything is in the same system. I'm going to say OK, and it projects it. I'm going to select that option to close automatically, and now I can delete the two old ones, and now everything is in the same system. Okay, I've got my two layers in the Africa Equidistant, as well as my data frame in Africa Equidistant. Okay, and that's the best way to do your work. Alright, you will note the coordinates being displayed here as I move around on the map. So you can change this as well. You can right click anywhere on the map and go to data frame properties, or you can right click on layers and go to properties. It's the same thing. And once there, you've got an option to click on data frame. Oh, sorry, let's click on general. And then it asks you in what units do you want to display, and you can go and you can see, you can select degrees, minutes, seconds maybe. Okay, maybe you like that more. If I go back to my map, you can see it changed to degrees, minutes, seconds. Or you can even, if you want to, display it in meters or kilometers, or decimal degrees, or whatever the case may be. Alright, so just note that you are able to change this. Alright, so this is tutorial 1.2. You should now be able to, once you've practiced this, you should be able to add data to ArcMap, connect your folders to ArcMap using ArcCatalog or the Add Data window, add your layers, and you should be able to investigate your layers for what's the spatial reference information, and you should be able to open Arc Toolbox, navigate to the projections and transformation toolsets, and use the define projection as well as the project tools to first define a projection for a layer. If it does not have anything specified but you are sure what it should be, that's when you use define. So let me just clarify, define projection does not create a new layer. It just adds a spatial reference file to an existing layer. Project, on the other hand, creates a new layer. You need to specify where this new layer must be stored, and that's where you define a new projection. You take it from A to B. take it from one to another. Okay, so it's important to distinguish between them. These ones are used for vector data. If you work with raster data, you use the project raster tool to project. Vector data, we will get to the data formats later in the theory class, but just take note of it for now. Project, that's for vector data, and define projection will work, that works for both of them, both raster and vector, if you just need to define a projection. Alright, so download the data from eFundi and practice this tutorial.